Hey guys, welcome to the Main Stringer channel. I'm Parikh, and I've been wanting to make this video, and I'm pretty late to the game, to talk about the new Tudor Black Bay Chrono, the Bumblebee edition, which is the smaller size that they launched recently. And I had some perspectives after giving it some thought that I think may be considerably different from those that have been shared. So maybe I'll talk about that in this video. So to start off, Tudor really launched the original chronograph, which they called the Heritage Chrono, right after 2012, after they launched the new Black Bay and the Pelagos. And those watches were extremely popular. They were about 42 millimeters in diameter, about 13 millimeters thick. They had a Dupois-Duprass movement. Because they were 42 millimeters and they had those particular proportions, they were just a bit big for, if you had anything, smaller than a 7-inch wrist. It did look a little bit out of proportion. But aesthetically, the watches were fantastic. They had a gorgeous dial, blue dial, with a little bit of gray and orange, and it really captured the racing spirit. It came with both a stainless steel bracelet and a NATO strap. And what I particularly liked about the watches were, I think, both versions, the Heritage Chrono Blue as well as the regular version, came with a 12-hour timing bezel. And what's very cool about that bezel is you can actually use that bezel to track a second time zone. And especially if you're traveling to Asia, where a lot of those time zones have like a half an hour shift, this 12-hour 24-click bezel can actually accommodate that. So it actually can show, honestly, more time zones than a traditional Rolex GMT watch. So I thought it was fascinating, and it was really my favorite watch during travel, and I liked some of those features about that particular watch. Now, they did discontinue that watch a few years later, and then they came up with the more popular Black Bay Chrono with the Panda dial as well as the black dial. And while these chronograph watches are good, they shared similar proportions. Now they were 41 millimeters, just about thick. They were still 13.1 millimeters thick. And what I particularly found interesting about it was the fact that they continued to carry on these snowflake hands. And I think there's a lot of talk about this in the general watch forum about how disproportionate those hands are and how not suitable they are for a chronograph function. And that is all 100% true. I think it looks not so great on this watch and is a poor design choice in the first place. And from that standpoint, I also feel that if you were given the choice between the two hands to pick, if you had like the pencil hands as well as the snowflake hands, aesthetically, by default, almost everybody would pick the pencil hands. So this almost looks like a forced change on this particular watch in order to carry the Black Bay name or badge on it, and it's not that great of a solution to the problem. Now, aesthetically also, at the 41 millimeters and the 13 millimeters thickness, the watch was less than desirable for most wrists. And this is really where the new Chrono with the 39 millimeter case and 11.9 millimeters thick case design, that one has come into play. And that particular watch is a lot better suited. It actually fits more wrists, which is really great, and it's got this yellow colorway, which is probably not up to everybody's taste. But what Tudor is doing is they're kind of walking this fine line. The watch is thinner than the current chronograph, which is great. I think everybody would appreciate that, but it's still thicker than the Rolex Daytona. So this is, I think, Tudor trying to make a watch that is really not the best watch that they can possibly make, but they are trying to walk that fine line of not pissing off Big Brother Rolex and appealing to proportions that kind of look like an improvement, but it's still not as good as a Rolex Daytona in that regard. So again, I think it's a fantastic watch. Now, over the years, Tudor has produced watches for the Only Watch release. They have done a Black Bay Only Watch as well as a Tudor chronograph, and everybody thought that was going to be the next chronograph that comes out of the Tudor stable. It was going to be a big block chrono with pencil hands, because that is what was debuted in the Only Watch. But as we know from history, what is made for the Only watch is not necessarily a watch that they're going to make for the regular production model. So they did make a pencil hand Tudor Black Bay, which never really saw the light of the day. It always came with the snowflake hands. So I think this big block is going to be something very similar. It's going to be pencil hands for the Only watch, but whenever they launch it, in reality, it's probably going to have the snowflake hands. I don't think the pencil hands are ever coming back to the Tudor lineup, which is a shame because I think those are the right hands to have on a chronograph, and it looks unbelievable. So again, if you have the wrist for it, I think the Heritage Chrono is still a fantastic pick for the proportions. It is a gorgeous watch. And honestly, it's not any more thicker than the current chronographs, so I don't think you're losing much in actually going for that particular watch. And I think the new Tudor Bumblebee, I have had the chance to wear that watch on my wrist, and it is fantastic proportionally. And if that watch came with pencil hands, the Monte Carlo dial, and the current proportions, count me in. I'm probably going to be the first person trying to buy that watch, and I'll be right up there in the line wanting to get it. But I have a feeling that that's just going to remain a dream. I don't think Tudor has ever the intention of making that watch as perfect as it can. Now, that said, I don't think it's off the table, because if you look at the current version of the Black Bay, I think it is yet the most refined Black Bay that they can make. It is starting to approach the fit and feel and class of like a Rolex Submariner, and it has taken from 2012 till 2025 to achieve that. So Tudor, like Rolex, is a slow mover. They're not going to rush to give you what they want, but they are listening, and they will make these changes incrementally. So again, we can dream, and we'll keep dreaming for the perfect chronograph watch to come out of the stable. But those were my thoughts about this particular watch. Let me know what you think. I mean, do you own one of the Tudor chronographs, whether it's the old vintage big block versions, Monte Carlo versions, or the newer? What do you think about Tudor's strategy? Where do you think they should go from here? And let me know what you think about my thoughts, and feel free to like and subscribe. Again, it's been a while since I posted a video. I'm going through home renovations and stuff like that, so hopefully when the dust settles, I'll get back to a regular cadence. But thanks for watching, and have a great day. Take care.